There are as many worlds as there are stars in the sky. In each there is a Camelot. In each there is a Grail. But I am only one man.
Featuring an intriguing blend of Arthurian legend and cosmic horror, The Hand of Merlin was a surprising gem hidden in a sea of early access games. The gameplay feels like a faster and more streamlined XCOM that, while not as complex, still feels tactical and fun to play. Being a roguelike, the game spends less time with complicated equations and calculations, and more time just letting you play, making the process of actually playing through repeated runs easy without getting lost in a sea of features, menus, and statistics. Now, before we get started, since the game is in early access, I want to note that I'm reviewing the current version as of the Whispers of Doom update.
It has no mind, but its hunger is infinite, and its abominations have been gnawing at the veil since the beginning of time.
The Hand of Merlin takes place in an alternate telling of Arthurian Britain, wherein the Knights of the Round Table are fighting a losing battle against an endless cosmic horror known as the Cataclysm. King Arthur has already failed in his quest, and now it's up to your small band of adventurers to save the world with the help of the wizard Merlin. However, there's a high chance you'll fail, and this failure means the permanent end of the world. In a unique take on the genre's permadeath system, every run in this game is an alternate world in an infinite number of dimensions. This, coupled with Merlin's quest to help these infinite worlds, creates a tragic and never-ending struggle against cosmic forces that sees bands of adventurers struggling to save their worlds over and over, with the consequences for failure amplified by its permanence in the game's lore. This struggle adds a layer of depth to the genre that isn't often seen, which really enriched the experience for me as a whole and drew me into the story. Every run starts with choosing your preferred team from a lineup of unlockable characters from 3 different classes, each with their own abilities and strengths. Alongside this decision, the player can collect and upgrade cores across runs by visiting arcane nodes, permanently unlocking new spells to bring into battle. While each run is randomized, these unlockable cores and characters give you a little control over your overall playstyle, along with giving persistent progress throughout runs, rewarding each time you play regardless of whether or not you were successful, and making things a little easier for you on future playthroughs.
I reached out across infinity and created the one you call King Arthur.
The gameplay itself is a mix of the aforementioned turn-based tactical combat and a choose-your-own-adventure style narrative that changes every time you play, thanks to randomized events, character-specific decisions, and gambling on risk versus reward decisions. In the overworld, the player will make their own path in the branching sections of the map, with the chances for anything to happen depending on what kind of tile they land on each turn. These random events can have a positive or negative effect on your party depending on the choices you make, and will often lead to combat encounters, especially on nodes that have been corrupted by the Cataclysm.
At great cost, I devised an instrument that could heal the wounds in reality. To you, it is known as the Grail.
While some games in the genre are mostly dependent on luck in regards to resources and upgrades, I found that even with randomized events, the game never felt unfair in balancing my resources. You'll still have to make difficult decisions as expected, but until near the end of the game, or unless I made a big mistake, I never felt like the game was punishing me unfairly on all fronts. The same goes for the game's combat. Even in battles with numbers stacked against my party, I never felt that a situation was hopeless, thanks to the game's balance of strategy and ease of access. Abilities are straightforward in both description and use, the game's mechanics are easy to learn, and overall the game is just very accessible, even for people who hardly touch strategy games. Each of your 3 characters can learn up to 4 abilities, which can be upgraded through leveling your party. All of your party members can also carry a relic that either changes certain stats or gives access to new abilities, depending on which one you take. As I mentioned before, the game is less focused on extremely complex and deep mechanics, and is more worried about player enjoyment and the ability to easily play and replay the game. It's easy to pick up and even easier to go back to if you stop in the middle of a run, unlike some other strategy games that become gibberish to me if I stop playing for more than a week. While some can argue that taking the complexity out of the game would take some of the fun out of it, I feel that the decision greatly benefits the style of gameplay the developers were aiming for, and there's still just the right amount of depth to make each run unique without overloading the player. As a bonus, it's a lot easier to tell if an attack is going to hit or not, keeping the focus on your strategies as opposed to crossing your fingers and hoping a point-blank attack with a sword isn't going to miss. I'm looking at you, XCOM. Now, talking about visuals, I'm also very impressed with what this game has done. The art team has managed to blend two completely different ideas, medieval villages and corrupting cosmic horrors, without either one feeling visually out of place. The environments have a lot of detail, the character models and monsters all feel consistent in direction despite the obvious contrasts, and the HUD artistically matches the style and feeling of the rest of the game. The characters, the painted icons, and overworld map all feel like a classic tabletop game brought to life, and the visual clash of the Arthurian world with the alien corruption makes every fight feel like a spectacle, especially as the cataclysm continues to spread more and more while you progress. The Hand of Merlin's soundtrack blends these contrasting visuals in much the same way, combining medieval-style instrumental music with a more modern and dramatic score that amplifies the epic and otherworldly nature of your quest. Seriously, just listen to this. In regards to the game's sound effects, I don't know if I have a lot to say about them. The sound effects aren't bad in any way, and they fit with the actions that are happening on screen, but they just haven't blown me away as much as the rest of the game's presentation. The sounds are exactly what I'd expect from a normal turn-based strategy game, which isn't bad by any stretch. It just feels like something small is missing that could really make the sound effects shine.
The world's changed, and Arthur failed. In world after world, lesser men took his place, men unprepared for the coming of the cataclysm.
While I've had a very positive experience with the game, there are still a few issues that I feel need to be addressed before the game leaves early access. Firstly, while there are a couple of systems for permanently unlocking things between runs, I feel that it's not enough to encourage people to keep playing the game in the long run. Alongside that, most games in this genre give you even more of a challenge whenever you beat the game for the first time, or at least more content, but right now you just choose between the same difficulties and do the same main objectives on every run, which can lead to boredom in a lot of places once the game's charm starts to wear off. More systems for progression that alter the game in more drastic ways, such as giving permanent buffs to later runs or adding a modifier system for greater rewards, would keep people coming back to feel like they're accomplishing more. On top of this, adding extra story content after completing runs would make a major difference in the amount of replayability this roguelike could have. This would also open the game up to bigger changes as players unlock more content and have to fight through many more encounters to complete the game, paving the way for more permanent unlock systems that'll help players with a more difficult and lengthy endgame experience. Aside from that, I feel that a character overhaul is also a necessity for the developers moving forward. Currently, there isn't a lot setting each of the game's heroes apart, since each of them in the same class can learn each other's abilities through normal progression. On top of that, more classes to choose between would add a lot more depth to the game overall, instead of pushing all players toward the same warrior, archer, mage team. It feels like variety is the game's main issue at this point in early access. With more diverse heroes, classes, enemies, and progression, the Hand of Merlin would be a no-brainer purchase for strategy lovers. There are many things to love about this game, and my first several runs were very entertaining and interesting overall. However, a lack of post-completion content is damning for a game in this genre that relies on repeated playthroughs for the full gameplay experience. I really wish there wasn't a drawback like this pushing against players as the game progresses, because every other aspect of the game has done a great job drawing me in and keeping me entertained through my multiple runs across different difficulties. Despite these current limitations, The Hand of Merlin was a very positive experience for me. I honestly forgot that this game was even in early access while I was playing because of how solid the experience was otherwise. The Hand of Merlin has strong world building, gameplay, and foundation. All it's missing is the extra content that would keep players coming back dozens of times after claiming their first victory. Overall, I'm excited to see what the game will be like on full release, and I'm giving this one a big thumbs up. Hello everyone. I've been sick for over a month and my voice is just now coming back, so I apologize if it was a little rough today. I hope that my reviews have been helpful to you, and if you'd like to see more gaming content from me, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You can also hit that little bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video so you don't miss out on anything. Feel free to let me know what you think about the game in the comments, and you can also chat with me anytime on my social media. The links for that are down below in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one when hopefully my voice is a little better.